My next guest is going to be back in action, taking on Nassourdine Imavov, UFC Fight Night, June 8th. It is right around the corner. It is Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla, back here on the program. Jared, how are you?
I've been good, James, real good. I've been out of the mix for almost a year. It would have been almost a year by the time I get back in the octagon. I hate when that happens, but that's the nature of the sport. You know, injuries occur and unexpectedly, of course, and they put us on the sideline. But I got a good team. I got a good team behind me, good support system, and I'm ready to get back into it and get back to that title shot.
And coming back with a bang, big fight here, new setup when it comes to doing our interviews. Very impressed by that, Jared. So it's all looking good. And I'll say it off the bat, everyone, apologies for my voice. I was at a hockey game last night, so voice is a little bit gone. But tell me how this fight came together with you and Imavov. How much notice did you get? When did you find out about it?
I found out about this fight maybe. Where were we at? May? Maybe at the end of, or sort of the middle of April.
Okay.
And initially they offered me a fight with Paulo Costa.
Okay.
And when was it? Whenever they just had this fight in Brazil. What?
Last 301, weekend? 301, yeah.
Yeah. And that was like, I wasn't going to get cleared until like the end of March. That would have just been like a 1 month camp to get ready to get back into competition. And I didn't want to jump right back into competition without having been training everything I need to be training leading up to getting a fight scheduled. So I wasn't really grappling as much. Of course, I wasn't cleared to compete, so I didn't have full utilization of my recovered knee. Mm-hmm. But when they called me for the Imavov fight, you know, I told them, they called me, like 3 or 4 weeks later with the Imavov fight, and it wasn't what I wanted. Naturally, I want the contenders fight. I want the highest ranking, you know, the best matchup. But I was hoping to get Costa later, maybe in June, but they gave that fight to Whittaker, and you know that ship sailed. So all they had left was Imavov. So I needed to get my toes wet again, and he's a good, a good dust up to knock the dust off, if you will.
Yeah, it kind of almost looks like a bit of a tournament what they have going on right now. You and Imavov, it's actually Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev, and then Paulo Costa and Sean Strickland, right? So it's interesting because Sean and Paulo were fighting, I think, a week before you at UFC 302. So it's interesting that they didn't just move that fight because it seemed like they wanted you to fight initially, like you just said, at UFC 301, right?
Right, correct. So, yeah, you know, I wanted the top. Anybody ahead of me. Strickland, Adesanya, Whittaker.
And you mentioned Chimaev as well, right? I know last time we spoke, you said that was an interesting fight to you, but it looks like they went with what I actually heard. This is a little bit of news. So I talked to Strickland's coach, Eric Nixick. Apparently, according to him, it says the UFC was actually trying to work on Chimaev and Strickland, but Strickland couldn't travel to Saudi Arabia. So they couldn't make that fight happen. So Whittaker gets in. Then I'm assuming they gave Strickland to Costa, and you're getting Imavov. So what do you think of that? It looks like that's what they initially wanted.
What can I say? You know, matchmakers have their plans, and you know, and they try to do things on the fly, if you will. But you know, injuries happen. Sometimes I can't take a fight. Sometimes, you know, Strickland has contracts, issues to discuss and stuff like that. You know, things happen in this sport, and it is what it is. Imavov is what I'm left with, and to be honest, I don't really know what to say about it. Like you said, it's kind of like a tournament format in the middleweight division right now, where all the guys lined up for fights shortly, you know, in the next couple of months. And then I don't even know if they've announced Dracus's Plessis' next fight. Everybody's talking about him versus Adesanya. So it's pretty interesting how they have things are going to be shaping out this coming up summer. So I'm just ready to get in there and get back into it. Show that I've been getting better. I know I've been out for a year, so that's a year's worth of improvements I've made. Coming off of my last performance where I broke that record. And, you know, when you see stuff like that and then you hear me say that I've gotten better, I'm continually getting better, then you can almost expect that I'm going to go in there and destroy a guy like Imavov. So that's my plan. I want to go in there and put it on him. I don't want to take any shots early on before I get to putting it on him like I did against Vettori, but I don't want to go 5 rounds. I'm not trying to, break any more records unless it's the fastest KO in the middleweight division. The fastest KO with the fewest shots. I'd like that. With that being said, my output is going to be up. I'm definitely going to be bringing it to him, and whoever else is going to be standing across me in the octagon.
Just a couple more things kind of on the setup of this fight. So you mentioned Costa. That was the initial plan at UFC 301. What about for this fight? Were there any other opponents in the mix, or were you only told about Imavov?
No, because I went back and asked, what about the Costa fight? What about Strickland? Because they weren't scheduled at the time. And the UFC were working on making that matchup. So that pretty much took my name out of that one. And before my injury last October, I was scheduled to fight Delitse, and then he went on to lose against Imavov. So now they're giving me Imavov. So I think Imavov is sort of like the Delitse for now that they were giving me last year. So things work out the way they do, and again, I'm just happy that I have a willing opponent. He called me out last year. He's been wanting to fight me naturally because I'm higher in rankings. And I assume that he seems like a confident fighter, so I'm sure he thinks he's going to go in there and do well. But from what I've seen out of him, I don't think it's going to go too well for him. If anything, I know he's from France, but he's going to become a Dagestani fighter that night because he's going to be shooting for the hips for sure, unless he wants to get knocked out.
Absolutely. And just one other thing too, like seeing what we have at UFC 302, Dustin Poirier as an example, getting a title shot against Islam. Do you not think as well that like we've seen where sometimes it's the right place at the right time, right? Even if you look at Strickland fighting Adesanya, that was a case of where, the timing worked out. So I'm sure you're disappointed, maybe you wanted a different opponent, but you got to feel encouraged as well that we've seen a number of title shots that really it comes down to timing. Like nobody really thought that Poirier was going to get a title shot after losing to Gaethje. He beats Benoit Saint-Denis. Now he's getting to fight Islam. So that must be a little bit encouraging for you.
Oh yeah, I really like the way the UFC runs its matchmaking and things like that. They have a few different perspectives that they do matchmaking in. They do it based off of merit, how well you've done in your fights. So if I get a good performance like with Sean Strickland, he had a good performance against Imavov after my fight with him, and then a good performance against Ikram. I forgot the guy's name. Is it Askarov, or whatever his name was?
Yeah.
And then, when things happen with Adesanya's fight falling through with, I think was supposed to be
Duplessis, yeah, because Duplessis couldn't remember he had the injury going into the Whittaker fight,
right.
and then exactly. So
yeah, and then the timing worked out. So it was based off of merit and of course timing. And of course we've heard Dana and all the guys in the UFC say, when the opportunity comes, you better be ready because it may not come again. So, good on him. So. Imavov is my opportunity to put on a masterful performance, add on top of my winning streak, make it a three in a row winning streak, and one step closer to that title. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one other nice thing about this fight, you're finally going to be fighting in front of fans, right? You've been at the Apex, I think, the last couple fights. So this is in Kentucky. I know it's still a fight night, but you got to be happy about that because I'm sure as a fighter, you want to hear the crowd. You don't want to hear like a pin drop in the fight.
Absolutely. I think that was the big, an exciting factor of this matchup that it's going to be in Louisville in the stadium. Never been to Kentucky before, and I hear it's a very beautiful state. So I'm more than happy to go out there and get some of that fresh air and beat up somebody. Yeah. Welcome Imavov welcome to my home soil, and give him a good old American ass whooping.
Absolutely. By the way, forgot to mention, it was Strickland fought Abus Magomedov. I know someone in the comments is going to be like, he didn't fight Ikram. They're both Dagestani middleweights, so it's understandable that we get confused with that one. But let's talk about Imavov. Pretty well-rounded guy. Again, pretty solid UFC record. Just your styles. How do you see you two matching up against each other?
I see him trying to be. He's definitely he does well at not taking too many shots. He's got decent footwork, some clean striking. He's very slick on his feet, good movement. And like you said, he's pretty well rounded. You know, he's pretty good in the clinch. He's made himself safe on the ground, and even when he fought Dolitze, you know, he was taking it to him. He almost choked him out, didn't he?
Mhm.
You know, so that was pretty crazy when I saw that. So yeah, he's definitely a contender. You know, a guy, a name to be a guy to be reckoned with, a force to be reckoned with, if you will. But you know, I love that. You know, I love those guys who wants to come in there and sort of try to be domineering in the fight. You know what I mean? And but I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna, as far as my style goes, I'm gonna make him uncomfortable. He's not gonna be able to be slick. He's if anything, he's gonna be trying to avoid my strikes. The same way Sean Strickland fought me, you know, like a bitch. His words, not mine.
Right.
But that's what I foresee. I'm gonna make this man uncomfortable. Either he's gonna fight uncomfortable, or he's gonna try to fight through that uncomfortable. And either way, he's going to be in danger. He's going to fight like he's going to be in danger. And I'm going to make it to where that's what it's going to be. You know, like I said, I've said this before. When we step in an octagon and the ref says go, I'll get bigger and bigger. And the octagon is going to get smaller and smaller. And eventually you ain't going to have nowhere to go. Same thing happened with my last opponent. Almost happened with Strickland. But he was on another one at that time, on his way to the title shot, if you will. But I'm excited for this matchup. I'm excited for the challenges that he's bringing, and I'm excited for the camp that we have gotten into and the improvements I'm going to make in this camp. On top of the improvements I've made from coming from my last fight.
Yeah, and let's talk about that last fight. I know it was a while ago, but you and I spoke since then, and it was one of your best performances of your career. You dominated Vettori the entire fight. What's changed for you? Usually when a fighter gets older, you see a bit of regression. It almost looks like you found sort of new life. Anything in particular that you've really worked on, or any reason why we've seen sort of this new Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla 2.0?
I wouldn't say it's a Killer Gorilla 2.0 or anything new. It's just the consistent grind that we do at the lab, that I do with Ayers, that I do with all my team and all my support structures that I have around me. The whole thing, one of the main sayings at the lab is 1% better every time you step in there. And I go to the lab twice a day. So that's 2% a day. You know, there's 360 days in a year. Let's say we train about 150 of those days. That times 2 equals 300%. So I'm about 300% better than I was last time. And I'm going to show and prove that. It's just you know, that, and I take care of myself. You know what I mean? I eat well. I'm not reckless. We're not like going into the octagon or going into practice, cranking on each other. Of course, the nature of training is combat. So of course we have to mitigate damage as much as possible, but we train hard, and at the same time we train smart. So you don't find guys getting their legs and necks twisted on backwards or anything like that. You know, injuries happen naturally, but we mitigate them to a great degree at our gym. And on top of that, my strength and conditioning that we do at the lab, as well as my strength and conditioning that I've done at Ayers, has primed my body to not be as susceptible and to awkward positions and things like that. So, you know, I keep getting better. My body, I'm in better shape than I was last fight. I feel like I'm smarter than I was. I'm a smarter fighter than I was last fight. I just keep getting better. You know, that's my whole goal. Personally, my whole intent is progression. If I'm not getting better, then what am I doing here? I don't want to stagnate. You know, nobody wants to drink a stagnant ass cup of water, you know, or anything like that. So, no, I don't want to be stagnant. I'm always ascending. I'm always trying to spiral up, and in everything I do. So when it comes to the gym, getting better. When it comes to being a father and a husband, always try to do that better. Learning from my past mistakes, or always analyzing things and getting better, man. 1%.
Yeah, I agree. Because of all that, you mentioned, like, you know, upping the conditioning and all these different things. Is the weight cut actually easier for you, or is it about the same as it was before?
The weight cut is about as easy as it's always been. I've never had any. I've only had one complication during weight cut, and that was for the Strickland fight. And I think I was battling the flu
Okay.
going into that fight. So, but other than that, no, my weight cuts have always been good. Easy, you know, not a big deal. You won't see me shambling up to the scale and struggling to stand there for 5 seconds while they, you know, pose for the cameras and stuff like that. So weight cutting is not fun, but it's not the hardest part of this for me. And that's one thing I said. If I started at heavyweight, went down to light heavyweight, and I told myself, if I'm gonna go to middleweight, it's not gonna be a hard cut. And naturally, and that's why I said I'm a natural heavyweight. I was never a natural light heavyweight or never a natural heavyweight. I'm a natural middleweight. And that's probably why I won't be doing 170, even though if I probably could and make history in that regard, be the only fighter to fight. Well,
I think Kenny. Well, to be fair, I think Kenny Florian fought middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, and featherweight. I think he might have not
in the UFC. Or did he fight middleweight in the Ultimate Fighter?
I believe, but his finale fight, which was technically a UFC fight, was I believe a middleweight fight, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. I'd have to go back and check.
Well, I would like to be the first to get knockouts in all 4 divisions.
There you go. Exactly.
I know Connor's trying to do that with this. No, I think are they at 70 or at 85?
They're at 70. They're at 70.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that would have been some bullshit. How can you let that man go up to 85 like that?
I agree. I totally agree.
And fight a 55. If he's gonna bring him up to 85, he needs to fight one of us up here. If that's what he wants to do. Because you're not an 85er unless you're fighting an 85er. So all that stuff they've been doing with the weight things, I understand no weight cutting and thing like that. But if that's what we're gonna do, we need to do that across the board, like ONE FC does. But yeah, that's funny stuff. But it is what it is, and it makes money. So do your thing.
Training partners, who have been some of the main guys that are helping you get ready for this fight?
I got who we have. Man, we got a bunch of big guys in the gym now. Eric McConico, who's going to be who you guys will meet soon. Alec, you guys have seen Alec Lorenz, the Red Hammer. He just got a really good knockout in LFA a couple of months ago. Bruce Xavier, who's been a really good training partner. Who else? Julian Marquez is coming in for this camp. He's going to be fighting on the same card as us as well. So Julian is in the gym with us. Who else? I just named 4 guys plus me, and we got some 70. We got a 70-pounder in there that we're going to be using, and yeah. So I got some big guys in there. Not to mention the rest of the guys on the lab. I don't just train with the big guys. We train as a team. I train with the little guys. I even spar with the women. You know, so I get my work in and they get theirs in. We help each other grow. And that's what it's all about, that not just keeping my skills and my energy for myself and my big guys, but I learn from the little guys too, and they learn from me. So, and that's going to show when I get in there in the octagon. You ain't going to see just a big bulking guy. You can probably see a quick, smooth moving operator, if you will.
Yeah. June 8th. How's this one playing out, Jared? How do you see it unfolding?
I break a record. You know, I'm going to break the record. I want to either get more strikes landed on this one or as few strikes needed to knock somebody out. But no expectations. I'm not going to go into this with any expectations. I'm just going to go in there and give the best performance of my life. And he's not going to be able to handle it.
I love it. I mentioned Paulo Costa and Sean Strickland. I believe Strickland's like the favorite going into the fight. Do you think he wins that fight, or do you think Costa, with how he looked in that Whittaker fight, can edge him out? Who do you think wins that?
That's a tough one, man, because both of those guys are good. Strickland, I would probably give the edge to Strickland because of his style. It's not as traditional as most people are used to. On top of that, he fights with pressure. He's so used to fighting that way against so many different looks that he's seen in his gym that he can implement that against anybody. He even tried to implement it against me and had some success. I will acknowledge that. So, but I would give the edge to Strickland unless Paulo can catch him and keep catching him and get into a good rhythm and keep working on him. But Paulo, sometimes I feel like he will, what's the word? Sort of tone down the tempo so he doesn't get too tired too fast. Because when he goes, you know, he's pretty explosive. So he goes pretty hard, and he's giving everything he can in his movement. So that could play against him against Strickland, because Strickland doesn't get tired. He's not throwing everything in every strike. He's touching you until he can really touch you, and then he'll put some mustard on it. So I would give the edge to Strickland in that one, but I wouldn't count out Costa for anything.
And then Robert Whittaker and Chimaev. Do you think Whittaker, you fought Whittaker, do you think he can edge out Chimaev, who hasn't fought a ranked middleweight yet, actually?
Who? Chimaev?
Yeah, Chimaev.
No,
and
he
Whittaker.
hasn't fought a ranked middleweight. So this is his. This will be his swan song, right? This is a very interesting matchup. I believe that Whittaker gets it in the long run, at the long distance for sure, unless Chimaev gets so much of the momentum that Whittaker can't recover, which I find that hard to happen. I find that really hard to make that happen against a guy like Whittaker, who's been in there with all of us. So I want to give the edge to Whittaker, but you know, I'm gonna give the edge to Whittaker. I'm gonna go with Whittaker on that one.
We talked about, you know, title implications potentially on this fight. I don't imagine the UFC said anything to you like, if you win this fight, there could be a title. Are you kind of just under the impression that whoever looks good out of these remaining middleweight fights might get the next shot? Is that kind of your understanding?
Man, all I know is all about the next fight, you know? It's always all about the next fight. So I'm going to go in there and try to give the performance of my lifetime, the best performance that anybody's ever seen. And then hopefully that'll be enough to sway the UFC as to who's going to be next for the next title shot. I'm not really banking on getting the title shot after this, because there's so much going on ahead of me with Whittaker and Chimaev, between DDP and Adesanya. And of course, the fight that happens the week before mine is between, like you said, the tournament between Strickland and Costa. So I guess it's a matter of the performance. As long as I go in there and have a good performance and I come out unscathed, and if those guys go in there and have, you know, freaking, I don't even know what to call it, but battles in which they both come out with battle scars and ain't gonna probably be able to fight in the next couple of months, then here we are. I'd be ready to do some things. So the goal is to be as proficient and as efficient as possible.
Okay.
So I want to go in there and get it done as quickly as possible. I ain't trying to go in there and have a 5-round fight with this man. And but with that being said, I'm preparing for any and everything that can happen in the octagon. If he wants to come in there and have a standout battle with me, I'm prepared for that. If he wants to come in there and show how much of a Dagestan he really is and start shooting and wrestling and crotch sniffing, I'm ready for that too. Okay. So and I plan on winning in every position. So I think he's going to go in there and try to keep a distance on me, and I'm going to go in there and get in his grill. So
if Adesanya and Plessis happens next, which it does look like that's going to take place, do you think Plessis wins that and retains his title, or do you think Adesanya can bounce back and get his title back?
Both. I mean, both. In this sport, man, there are no absolutes in this sport.
Yeah.
There are no, if this person fights that person, oh, that person's going to win. I know people like betting and saying this, speaking with confidence and shit like that, but I understand as a competitor that there are no absolutes, so that anything can happen in there. And I'm trying to make it to where I'm in control of what's going to happen at all times. So with between them, you know, if DDP sits back and not puts pressure on Israel, then it's going to be Izzy's fight. If DDP puts pressure on him, it can be a lot like what we saw with Sean Strickland, what he did. He put pressure on him, made Israel uncomfortable, hurt him in that first round. I think DDP definitely hits harder than Israel. He's got more weapons at his disposal, or hits harder than Sean Strickland. I'm sorry, I said Israel. Hits harder than Strickland. He probably hit harder than Israel too. But he has more weapons at his disposal than Sean Strickland had in that fight against Israel. He's got some good kicks, you know what I mean? So that fight can go anyway, man. When Sean fought Israel, we was all like, no, Israel's going to do this. Israel's going to do that. And then Sean went in there and did what Sean does. So we can see either happen if or when they fight.
Did you see Du Plessis on The Masked Singer?
I didn't see it, but I heard. I was watching your live stream the other day, and I saw that little snippet of that little post or that information you put out there, and that little clip that you showed. I was like, that's pretty cool, man. This guy's all over the place.
Which, by the way, thanks for tuning in. I love when you come in and into the chat, and then people always think it's like someone using your name that's fake, but we can verify it here. That is you in the chat. I know this, but you got to tell the people that is really you.
It is me. There's only one Jared Cannonier, so yes, it is me. If I say it's me, it's me. Anybody else is posing. So
there we go. Jared, we went way over time, but I thank you so much for doing this. We're looking forward to the fight June 8th. You, Nassourdine Imavov. Anyone you want to thank before we get out of here? Anything you want to mention? As always, I'll give you the last word.
All right. I got some papers here I got to read.
Let's do it. You came prepared. I like it. I like it.
So first and foremost, I want to make you guys aware that I am partnered up with Samu Manuka. It's a Manuka honey. It's a company that provides me with Manuka honey. Manuka honey has a lot of different properties. Of those of you who haven't heard of Manuka honey, it has anti-inflammatory properties. It has antioxidant contents. It stimulates the immune cells. It also has prebiotic effects. So for gut health, it's good for your skin health. You can use it on cuts and scars. It's really good at fighting against staph and MRSA. It's good at fighting against all kinds of dermatological skin stuff, scalp problems. It reduces scars, the appearances of scars. It helps with your immune system. Also, the product that they sell is from a farm. Well, it's a New Zealand company, and they, of course, locally source their honey from a farm called Bee and Flow. So that's the name of the product that they're selling, Bee and Flow Manuka honey. 10% of their profits go to children in need. A few organizations that they work with are the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I'm really all about that, helping children find children and protect and helping them heal from exploitation, be it abuse or all the different type of abuses. So yeah, and the Loving Hand Children's Home is another organization that they work with. This quarter, their proceeds are going to be going to Child Fund International. So the Child Fund International is going to be the beneficiary of the 10% of their profits for this quarter. So if you guys want to help children, on top of that, get some good honey, not just the regular honey that you find in the stores around here, but the stuff that can really do some good for you. Hit them up. Again, they're called Samu Manuka, SAMUMANUKA. They're on Instagram. Hit them up. Actually, I have a link in my bio that you can go to and get yourself some Manuka honey, right? So hit the link in my bio. I already put it in there. Go to the link in my bio, and I think you got to use a password, J Cannonier or something like that. J Cannonier, I believe, is the password. So that's that. What else do we have here? And Crystal Council, I always want to give them a shout out. I love Crystal Council. Those are my guys. If you guys are interested in crystals and working are interested either geologically or working with energy from the earth and stuff like that, or interested in how these crystals form, these guys do a lot of research. They have these, they send out these boxes that has an assortment of crystals in there, random crystals. They come with a scroll that'll give you a description on what the crystal is, where it come from, different ways you can use it if you are into energy work. So Crystal Council is doing big things with that. Also Spirit Armor on Instagram. They make pendants, beautiful pendants, using wire wrap pendants and stuff, using these stones and stuff. So I have a few pieces. I wish I pulled them out to show you guys, but they're really beautiful. Who else? Thrival. I still love using my Thrival board, man. If you guys don't know about Thrival, you guys need to hit them up. Thrival muscle recovery boards are off the chain. I didn't show you this, but this is the product. Shit, there we go.
Look at this.
There's the product for the Manuka Flow. There you go. So yeah, guys, get you guys hands on this Manuka honey. This is good stuff. I use this pre-workout. I take a tablespoon before hard practices, sparring, wrestling, and I feel great throughout the whole process. So it's good, clean energy on top of the other benefits with the honey. Now, going back to my other sponsors, 8 Man Strong sent me some really cool shirts. I'd like to show these to you guys. Want to send them a shout out for sending me these awesome shirts. I really love them. These are just a few of them that they've sent, but I picked out the best ones that I like the most. So these are really cool. So guys, if you guys like 8 Man apparel, these are some really good fabrics, quality shirts, really good to work out in or just show up and look really cool in. What else? And of course, the team. We'll start with Air Sports Medicine and the team over there. I've been going there since my Anderson Silva fight, and you guys have seen that I've continually gotten better. My body is continually chiseling down, getting stronger, and I can attribute that to the work I do at the lab, but also to the work that I do with Airs. I get personalized work there. It's not a gym that you can go to and get some workout in. It's a sports medicine facility for physical therapy or injury recovery, but they work with all kinds of athletes, Olympic athletes, professional fighters. Me, myself, has gone in there. I've seen the Triple C in there. A lot of guys from the team. Tim Welsh is in there. Mario Batista comes in there to get worked on, and a whole bunch of guys. So if you're in the Phoenix area and if you ever have any injuries that you want to get, come back from, on top of that, gain some knowledge, because it's a lot of good information that they share and equip you with, so that you can not only come in there and be healed, but you can learn to heal yourself as well. So Air Sports Medicine, I really love that place. I love Al, I love the whole team there, and I'm blessed to have them in my corner. And last but not least, of course, all day, MMA Lab, guys. 1% better every day I walk in there, guaranteed. And as long as I put in the work, I'm going to be a champion. I said this for my first fight in the UFC, did an interview. I said, if I get my work in here, I will be a UFC champion. And I've come a long way since then. Had the chance to get the title, but I'm not finished yet. So we are coming. MMA Lab, not just me, but the whole team. You guys know, you'll see. I can't say enough good things about that team, man. Yeah, and being 40 years old, I still feel great. I still feel like I'm getting better. And I can definitely attribute that to the training I've gotten in that facility, the coaches, the teammates. It's just a wonderful place to go, learn, and grow. It's not like isolated or anything. So if anybody in the Phoenix area wants to come and train, come to the lab. We do big things there. Family environment, which is important for me. My kids are in there all the time, so don't come in there with no weird stuff, because this is like my second home, and I will protect it as such. Other than that, don't come asking for no interviews or no autographs. I had a few people come to the gym just asking for autographs. Don't ever do that. Don't ever come to my gym asking me for autograph or anything like that. Don't ever come to it's just like coming to my house asking for an autograph. I'm liable to draw down on you for doing something like that. So yeah, the MMA Lab is the place to be if you want to become one of the best in the world, because that's our goal, to be the best. Not to be the greatest of all time, but the best of all time. A boat is better than a goat, if you ask me. So with that being said, and a shout out to you, James. I love the work that you do. I love the platform you've created for us. I love your honest, just honest. You know, you're honestly yourself in your analysis, in your assessment, and in your presentation. So I really appreciate the work you do, and keep going, brother.